Moleskine notebooks. Is there anything that can rival the romance of a well-loved Moleskine notebook? After all, as they say on their website, it is the heir and successor to the legendary notebook used by artists and thinkers over the past 2 centuries. Among them, Vincent van Gogh, Pablo Picasso, Ernest Hemingway, and Bruce Chatwin. Bruce Chatwin? Remember that name. He's going to come up again shortly. Now, sadly, I hate to be the one to disillusion you from romantic notions. I love being caught up in the hype and romance of an article, especially if it inspires you. However, in regards to Moleskine, almost everything they're saying is purely marketing hype. Well, mostly. So join me today, won't you, as I pierce the veil of the marketing hype that is the Moleskine notebook and offer you 5 alternatives that I think are superior and better values than the Moleskine notebook. Now, it's all marketing. I get marketing. I think everything in a sense is marketing. I love romance. I love a good story. And in fact, if it keeps you inspired and you love Moleskine, then I wouldn't take that away from you. In fact, I use them myself. I use Moleskine notebooks to track some of my financial transactions. I've used them for traveling, even most recently. When I was in Italy, I carried a really pretty Moleskine notebook, but it had serious problems, and that's part of the reason why I decided to make this video. There's so much bleed through when you're using a more robust ink flow like a fountain pen, and I prefer the romance of fountain pens, and I think it's a very short distance from a fountain pen to a Moleskine. If you love the beauty of something historic and the romance, and you want to write in it with a writing instrument that would have been used when they were the most popular. So I was really disappointed in it. I started to seek out alternatives that still had that romance. And these are what I found. It's helpful to begin with a short history of Moleskine. So what exactly is a Moleskine notebook? Traditionally, a Moleskine notebook is a pocket-sized notebook of 3.5 by 5 inches or 8.89 centimeters by 12.7 with a durable oilcloth or oilskin black cover, usually black, and it's kept closed with an elastic band and contains an internal expansive pocket, which is great for your little tickets, photos, small things that you carry around. The oilskin was actually a cotton cover with some waterproofing. These began showing up in the late 19th and early 20th century in the stationery stores of Paris. They were simple, cheap, utilitarian objects made by various bookbinders and suppliers, and I bet they had amazing paper, unlike many of their modern counterparts. Since they were inexpensive, easy to get, these were used by the struggling artists, writers, thinkers of the day. They were also just such useful tools. However, despite what they claim in their marketing, it doesn't seem that Hemingway used them. In fact, Hemingway wrote in blue-backed notebooks according to a movable feast. And these were school exercise books, so strike that one against Moleskine's marketing. So over time, these utilitarian pocket notebooks fell out of favor in France, and their manufacturers started to dwindle down until there was a single one left in Tours, France, that was still producing them for a few shops in Paris. Sadly, in 1986, they too went out of business. You remember when I mentioned Bruce Chatwin? Well, in 1987, he wrote a book called Songlines, and in it, he wrote a poetic elegy to the fall of Moleskine. He writes, "The owner of the stationery shop told me that they had gone out of business. He said, 'Le vrai Moleskine non est plus.' The real Moleskines are no more." Now, whenever something romantic and historic disappears, it always creates a certain sense of loss and people wanting to recreate that feeling, and that started to catch on. But then a Milanese publisher, Modo & Modo, took the inspiration from the Moleskine notebook and decided to resurrect it, trademarking the name Moleskine with a capital M, and then used the persuasive power of romantic advertising and marketing familiar to any reader of the J. Peterman catalog to sell it. And sell it they did by the millions. Eventually, Modo & Modo changed their name to Moleskine. I mean, why wouldn't they? So why was it important for me to tell you this history? Just to simply show that the Moleskine notebook has no more claim on the legacy of Parisian notebooks than anyone. But I would like to thank Moleskine deeply for keeping this style of notebook going, for popularizing it all over again. It is really the perfect pocket notebook in its essence and design. However, since the paper is lacking and some of the features are lacking, let's get into 5 notebooks that I think are easy to get, better values, and superior to the Moleskine notebook. I'll also let you know which one is my favorite at the end, because I think that's helpful as well. To set the bar, the Moleskine Classic Notebook is around $22 US at the time of filming. It's 192 pages, it has a paper cover that's very stiff, and a nice elastic band that keeps it closed. There's an expansive back pocket to keep little items in, and they do come in various iterations. There's ones themed for certain cities and different activities, address books, sketchbooks, etc. One of the things that annoys me a little bit in the marketing for Moleskine is that it often says that it's good for fountain pens when it is clearly not. You get quite a bit of feathering, quite a bit of bleed through, and it's just not an enjoyable experience. In picking these 5 notebooks, I wanted to make sure they're fairly easy to get and are either around the same price as the Moleskine or less. I wanted them to have the same basic shape and to have a bit of that je ne sais quoi, that same kind of romantic feeling, so that it would be similarly inspirational for when you're taking it out into the world. My first choice is from Amazon, and it's cheap as chips, and it's the Paperage Lined Journal Pocket Notebook. This one is black, it's 160 pages, it's 3.6 inches by 5.6 inches, and most importantly, the paper is 100 grams per square meter. That's pretty hefty. For me, I love it because it has a nice cover and the paper is very nice and thick. In fact, if I were to hand you this and you had a blindfold on, it'd be difficult to tell it apart from a Moleskine, and that's exactly what we're looking for. I think it's also a feature that they're very easy to come by. You can simply order them on Amazon in a rainbow of color. I kept it traditional because I want these all to be either brown or black to have that original feel. But if you want it in red or blue or green or anything else, they seem to be out there. It's called a vegan leather cover, so it's hard, it's waterproof, it seems very durable, but it's pretty much, let's be honest, some kind of plastic. There's a couple of stickers for labels that fit in the back pocket. That's a nice touch, but you can just buy your own for any of these. There's really not that many, but at least they're trying. One of the things I really like about this notebook is it lies very flat when you go to write on it. And that makes it easy because I'm sure you've seen I often write with a notebook in one hand while writing with the other standing up. And that makes it a lot easier if you don't have to get over that hump. The paper is slightly off-white, which is nice. It's not as harsh as a bright white is. A little easier on the eyes. Not something I give a lot of thought to, but it's pleasant enough. I think the best thing about the paper is its thickness and the fact that it shows your inks well, so it'll keep you inspired while you're writing, which is the most important thing after all. And you don't get that bleed through and that feathering that you get with a Moleskine, and to me, that's the biggest revelation of all. The paper has a nice finish, has a bit of texture, gives a nice scribing sound while you write, so it's a lovely journal for taking with you to a cafe. It will lay flat, you'll be able to take notes, you can enjoy your inks in a wonderful surrounding without too much distraction from your notebook letting you down. It's also perfectly sized for slipping into the pocket of your overcoat. It will just get lost in there because it's just not that large, which is perfect. It's very unobtrusive. If you're traveling, you usually have a lot of things on you, and it's really easy if it's slipped in your back pocket to just pull it out, take some notes when you're in a museum, in a cafe, wherever you are. I think one of the best things about this notebook is its price. The time of filming, it's $7.99, which is very, very affordable. And how do they do this? It's made in China. So if that's important to you, consider that. But if you're looking for a journal with superior paper that is very affordable, it's hard to beat it. But don't worry, I have some other interesting suggestions coming up, and some of them are made in some interesting places. Our next choice is pretty amazing. This is the Aisbugur notebook, pocket notebook. It's 3.5 by 5.5 inches. It comes in a 2-pack, one brown, one black leather, for $10 from Amazon. And it has some interesting features. Let's walk through it, and let me tell you why I think it's a better choice than the Moleskine. What it might lack in an elegant name, it certainly makes up in some interesting features, which I'm sure you can see right away. There's this fantastic elastic strap to keep your pen in place. Now, I wouldn't go stuffing your Montblanc 149 in here. It's a little bit too tight of a hug for a very nice pen. You can bring it around with you. It's a nice tidy package. You could shove it in your back pocket. It says notebook on the cover, so you won't be confused. On the inside of the front cover is a nice flap for keeping things here, like tickets and stubs and receipts and that sort of thing, easy to get and slide right out of. Very handy. The back has a really nice, thick, expansive pocket. One of the problems with the Moleskine is that if you use these often, they can sometimes tear. This feels very heavy duty. Of course, you have a place to write your name, very important. And the paper is very nice, hearty paper that stands up to your scribblings wherever you are, whatever you're doing. For me, this is my safari journal. This is the one I'd want to put into a cargo pocket if I were out in the field somewhere, perhaps looking at the snowy owls up on Plum Island when they come down from the Arctic. Maybe I'd take notes in a journal like this. Or if I went traveling in Egypt and I wanted to sketch the pyramids, it has that sort of romance. The cover, I'm sure, will take a nice beating and probably look fantastic when it gets destroyed. So the one thing about all these notebooks, they get wrinkled, they get dented, they get beat up. And that's part of the romance of it. Each of them tells a story particular to your life. If you keep it in your back pocket, it's going to arch, it's going to mimic the movement of your body. Everything you do, see, touch while you use this will somehow be imprinted on this book. Of course, like all Moleskines, it has the ribbon bookmark, which is very handy. In this case, there's two. Very nice. It also has a feature I really like. The back pages, several back pages, they tear off. To me, that is super handy. One of the things I don't like is it has a space for the date at the top, but I just ignore it when I use it. But I kind of wish it would just leave that to me because I write the date in the margin. But that's a small thing. I think my favorite thing about this is that the leather cover feels really nice. It has a tactile warmth to it. It has a bit of give. It just feels like something from a world that's lost. And of course, it has the elastic band to keep everything in place. It's just a very nice pocket journal, notebook, whatever you want to use it for. And this elastic loop, it just adds something to the whole presentation and the portability and usability of this notebook. And to me, that's everything. Leather certainly gives it an old world romance and a nice tactile feel. This just makes it one of my favorites. But is it my favorite of all of these? You'll have to wait until the end. My next choice is from one of my favorite paper producers of all time, Mnemosyne. Wow. This is such a great book. It's made in Japan. It's absolutely fantastic paper. It's hard to beat Mnemosyne's paper, and in this kind of presentation and format, it's just brilliant. Nice stiff cover, fantastic elastic band. Maybe a downside, it's a bit pricey. Let's go through the specs and see if it's my top choice. This one is 5.7 inches by 3.7, so the dimensions are a little bit different than a Moleskine, but still has that Moleskine feel. In fact, a little bit more space is kind of nice. This particular one is dotted. The dots are 5 millimeters apart. There are 160 pages in this book. Such nice paper. I love writing on this paper. You get the expandable pocket and back. It doesn't expand quite as much as some of the others, but it's certainly useful for all your different mementos. Now, the premium smooth Japanese paper is really one of the biggest selling points for this notebook, but you're going to pay for that. It's $24 at the time of filming. However, that's the price of a Moleskine, so this is a superior product with fantastic paper at the same price. And of course, you can get it lined too, if that's what you prefer. But see, for me, the dot grid is perfect for either writing vertically or horizontally. Sometimes I hold my paper sideways when I'm taking notes, just to make it a bit more aesthetic and interesting while I page through. Also fantastic for mapping out the grid of an architectural plan. Maybe if you're in a cathedral and you want to map out where the naves are and you want the central asp and all that in perfect rendering, kind of measured, but out in the field where you don't carry a ruler with you, the dots are perfect. Not to mention practicing your handwriting. Not a bad idea to have a portable pocket notebook just for that task. You can bring it with you, toss it in your bag. It's with you wherever you go. And of course, being Hemingway Jones, I would be remiss if I didn't explain what the name Mnemosyne meant and some of the beautiful inspiration and how things relate there. Mnemosyne is the Greek goddess of memory and the mother of the muses. So here we have a reference to remembrance and notes and inspiration in one clever title. Because remember, muses, museum. It's the place of the muses. It's a place for inspiration and knowledge. So it's fantastic that you have both remembrance and inspiration. So you can confidently outsource your memory in this spectacular little book made in Japan. Expert attention to detail, fantastic paper and ink expression. It's very tough to beat on all those different qualities that I hold in very high esteem as a fountain pen user, as someone who is passionate about ink, colors, and the expression of the ink. If I'm going to put a nice ink in a pen, I want to see what it should look like in the final product on the page. You can just enjoy writing on this fine paper wherever you are. When you are following the threads of your inspiration, you can do so on beautiful paper that will show the full expression of your inks from shading to sheen. You just cannot go wrong with Mnemosyne. Did I just rhyme? I think I did. I'm sorry about that. All right, let's check out some of our other offerings and see if it's as romantic, inspiring, and perfect as the Mnemosyne. It's really tough to beat. You know, we talk about the marketing of Moleskine and how it cleverly tied itself to the history of this type of notebook. It makes it a bit more romantic than it actually is. Well, our next choice needs to get on that. It needs to hire the same marketing firm. This is Fabriano and the Ispira notebook. What are they missing out on? This company has been producing paper products since 1264. Fabriano, get on it. What an incredible legacy. That should be front and center in your marketing. They call this La Bella Carta, or beautiful paper. It's 85 grams per square meter. It's very nice paper. It feels really thick, has a nice finish, and it's very pleasant to write on. Now, this is a very tough notebook. I've already taken a pretty much bite out of mine, and it's still hanging in there. The cover is very tactile. It feels like real leather. It says right on the back that it's made in Italy. You can get these even on Amazon around $8 or $9. They're getting a bit tougher to get because of trade restrictions and whatnot, but they're still out there. They're still abundant, and they are very interesting, and they have that Italian flair to them, which I quite like. I like that this one is brown, makes it a little different. The back cover sort of blends in. The back expandable pocket, it's not very robust, but it will certainly do the job. It has a ribbon bookmark, which is very handy. One of my favorite things about Moleskines. It lays nice and flat. It's sewn very well, but oh, that paper is so smooth, so fun to write on. I think that's probably the best part. Also, the dimensions are near perfect. This notebook's about 3.7 by 5.7, so absolutely perfect for slipping in your pocket, for journaling in Piazza San Marco, for taking with you into the Vatican museums, into the Forum, wherever you are. Portable, romantic, nice paper. It's a bit on the ivory side, a bit probably the most yellow of the papers that we've seen so far, but that does give a bit of warmth to it, which is nice. Very nice lines, very nice finish. Just an overall fantastic, exquisite notebook from a producer that's been making paper products evidently since 1264. I'm going to have to look into them a bit more. It's not really a company that I've dealt with quite a bit, except in these notebooks. I am sure I'll be bringing one of these on my next Italian trip and not being disappointed with another Moleskine. And the covers are tough. Mine came dented, so I used an iron and I straightened it out, and it's a little ugly, but it works just fine. I'm not too perturbed by it because the goal of these notebooks is to destroy them, to just love every moment of putting a bit of a scratch or patina on it and just remembering all those fun adventures you had with it along the way. That's the fun of writing with a pocket notebook. So if you want a notebook that has a bit of Italian heritage and reminds you a bit of La Dolce Vita, then the Fabriano notebook is perfect for you. But is it my top choice? We're getting close. My next choice is from Pentalic. It's a bit larger, and that's why it makes this list. Sometimes you just need more real estate for your musings and your drawings. This, of course, is their Traveler's Notebook. It is a very nice journal for many different reasons. And by the way, I use the term journal and notebook sort of interchangeably, so just forgive me for that. But one of the things I love is just how much real estate you get, and the fact that the paper in this one is chunky. I love chunky paper. You can probably hear too, it has a bit of texture. You're going to get a lovely scribing noise when you write on it. It just has a bit of romance. On the downside, the cover's not as robust, but this does have some positive attributes as well. It's a bit larger, so if it were very stiff, it wouldn't be as pliant when it slips back into your back pocket or into the pocket of your trench coat or whatever it is. A bit of give is not a bad thing, I think. So if you want more space, this is a good option. Let's walk through some of the different features that make this a very nice, compelling value proposition. So one of the nice features about this is that the leather cover was made in Italy. So that's really nice. It's kind of a little extra step above. The paper, 160 pages, chunky as I said, were made in Malaysia, but they seem to have been made very well. You get a back pocket on the back cover, not exactly expandable. You can't stuff too much in there, but it's certainly usable for stickers and things that you might use to highlight your pages. There's no writing on this paper, which is not distracting for me, which I like. I don't like little date lines and whatnot, so that's a nice touch. I will mention that the elastic band just feels a little flimsy. That's one of the downsides. Also, the bookmark is sort of asymmetrical. I'm not sure why. I don't really like that. But I think these are minor considerations for a nice, larger notebook for $10 from Amazon. It has a leather cover and some fantastic pages that can hold all of your musings and your memories and your drawings and your poetry and everything else that you're going to want to create when you're out in the field. So when I say this paper is chunky, it's 120 grams per square meter. Hello, it's Editing Hemingway here, and I just wanted to pop on because I'm not sure I made the point about the paper clear enough in my video. And yes, this paper is 120 grams per square meter, which is really quite thick, and it feels very thick. But ironically, out of all of them, it had the most ghosting. But not with my Mont Blanc in medium, not with a platinum in medium, but with my Pot of Custom 823 in medium, which puts down a lot of ink. It just had a bit of that. So I just feel remiss if I didn't impress upon you enough that out of all of these, this is the one I would either use drier pens, more fine nibs, and it's just not as tight as, say, the Mnemosyne paper, which is just so fantastic. Regardless, still so much better than the Moleskine. And I really like the size and everything else. But I'd be remiss if I didn't make this point clear enough. Let's get back to the show. So honestly, a lot of real estate, fantastic paper, beautiful cover, a lot of romance just in how it feels. It looks like some sort of artifact from a bygone era that you might pick up at a secondhand shop. So out of all of these, which one is my favorite? I hope I didn't telegraph it too much. I will say I love the Fabriano. I love that it's from 1264. I really love the Mnemosyne though. The Mnemosyne, oh, that paper is so exquisite. It's so well made. There's just no anxiety with using that book. It's just perfect for everything. The paper is fantastic. It's fun to write on. It is constructed perfectly, whereas on some of the other ones there are little details, the way the ribbon was set, the elastic band being a little bit, not so nice. But the Mnemosyne just knocks it out of the park, so it's hard for me to choose any other notebook but the Mnemosyne as my top choice. However, I use all of these. I use them for different occasions, so they're just fantastic choices for you, and you need to decide which one works best for you. But I certainly think that each of these is superior to paying $22 for a Moleskine notebook that has subpar paper that just doesn't show the ultimate expression of better pens and fountain pens and even some heavier markers. It's just not worth it. So what do you think of my choices? Do you have some choices of your own? I bet you do. Would you please leave it in the comments? The conversation of this channel never ends, and the comments are a fantastic resource for people to learn even more. So please let me know what you think. And if you've reached this point, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey with me. From the pen, we go to some amazing places, to Greek myths, to ancient Italy, all kinds of places. So come along. And if you want to support the channel even more, we have membership. And for Illuminati and Cognoscenti members, we have a pen pal group. So come on behind the scenes and see what's going on. I'd love to have you, and I appreciate the support. So I make new videos all the time, and I have a live show as well. So I can promise you, we will see each other again very soon, further up the road. So take care of yourself.